Hey, welcome back into the channel. Hope you're having a great day. Today, I just want to talk about long distance riding, iron butt challenges specifically. A while back, I had somebody comment and ask me to talk about long distance riding. I had mentioned it a long time ago that I'd talk about it, and well, I never got around to it. So last week I talked a little bit about it. Oh, by the way, this is the Jay Gliding channel. I'm your Jay Glider. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot to me. Take a little bit of your time to check this out, and I hope I can help somebody who's doing some research on it, or just And last time I had the pros and the cons about it, and like I said, it's not for everybody, and I get reasons on both sides. As I get older, I kind of question whether or not I'm going to do any more of those. But I tell you, when I get on the bike and I just start riding and laying down the miles, it feels good to just go until I have to stop for gas or something when I'm by myself. That is. So if I'm riding with a group, it's obviously a lot different, especially if I'm riding with my wife. We're stopping a lot more often than, and she's in it for the scenery and for stopping places, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody's a little bit different, and I can roll with just about everything. So, and anything. So, if you're new, thank you for tuning in. And if you're coming back, I really appreciate you taking the time, like I said, to check out my channel. And when I first started watching YouTube, that's what I was doing, was researching iron butt challenges. And I watched many people and their failures and their successes and what they did and what they would do differently. And so in my last segment, I talked about planning a route and how, in my experience, how I went about planning my route. I didn't want to ride 1,000 miles in one direction just to turn around and come home, and the same way. And I didn't want to take a week to do it. Didn't want to take a whole weekend to do it. I just want to do it in a day and be done and rest the next day, because I really didn't know how I would feel, how I'd react. My body would react to being on a bike all day and 1,000 miles. So I set out to do it on a Friday, and that day rained. So I pushed it to Saturday. So definitely I wanted to just do it in one day and be home and just kind of rest up Sunday before I went back to work on Monday, which I did. So anyway, rather than riding all the way 1,000 miles, or even riding somewhere a little over 500 miles and then turn around and coming back, I played with Google Maps, found a somewhat of a circular route. It kind of looks more like Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man if you look at it, and it was a way that I could be no more than a little over 3 hours away from my house at the furthest point of my route. And so, that being said, that way I could just, if I wanted to just call it good and head for the house, I could do that. Or if I broke down, God forbid, if I broke down, I could still get home in a decent amount of time, or even the next day pretty easily. So that is why I chose that. And the other reason why I chose that is I wanted to avoid the major cities. Like I said, where I live in the Des Moines, Iowa area, 3 4 hours in any direction, you're hitting a pretty major city, and I just didn't want to get caught up in any traffic and slow me down, and didn't want to jump on an interstate in Nebraska or Dakotas and just run 90 to 100 mile an hour. We tried that. A buddy of mine, his bike, 90 some degrees, dropped a valve out in the middle of Nebraska. So we failed on that attempt. And the second attempt, there was a major crash on the interstate, which shut down the interstate. And they sent me out in the middle of nowhere, and I had no idea how I was going to log all those miles. So I just said, screw it, head for the house. Had about a 500 some mile ride in that day and was home at a decent time. So, like I said, and I did it the old fashioned way. I didn't do it the spot walla way where it tracked it and logged it and you could just send it into Iron Butt. So I did it the old fashioned way, getting all the paper receipts at every stop, at every gas pump, and taking a picture of the receipt with my odometer so it would see the mileage. And on your receipt, you want to make sure the date is correct and the time is correct on that receipt. If not, at the pump, you need to go in to the store and make sure you get one that's accurate. So when you turn it in, you would get the credit for all the miles that you had done. So I did that, and I set out in the Des Moines area. And the other thing was, every turn I made, I had to stop and get a receipt to show that I didn't like cut a corner or something like that, and they wouldn't award me that many miles. So at every corner that I made, I stopped. And what I did is I just made sure it was a place where I was going to need gas, and it was a good place to stop anyway. So I stopped, got a receipt, got gas, made my turn, headed a different direction, and went that way till almost a whole tank of gas. Stopped at the next place. Well, I might as well just from Des Moines, it was out to the Iowa City area on Interstate 80. And then from Iowa City, I dropped down straight south. I want to say it was 216. Should have looked that up before we started gabbing. I did and I forgot. I should have had some notes. I just kind of freelancing it here. But anyway, if I'm wrong, I'll put it up here when I edit this video. But I think it's Highway 216, and it runs south out of Iowa City, and it goes straight south all the way down to Hannibal, Missouri. And stopped there, filled up, had a couple snacks, and it was pretty warm out, so I made sure that I had plenty of water, plenty of ways to stay hydrated. I had ice, I had a thermos with water and ice, and I had another thermos just with ice. And before I got back on the bike each time, I had a mouthful of ice and sucked on that for a while. And from Iowa City to Hannibal, Missouri, I had to put my rain suit on, and I ran in. It was just slight sprinkles, nothing major. And that was also the reason why I bought a modular helmet. I went with an LS2 modular helmet. So I had a half a helmet, and I knew that would going to cut it if it got caught in rain. And the whole time I was planning this, it was predicted to rain that day. That weekend, I knew going 1,000 miles, you're going to probably run into rain somewhere. So I had a little bit of rain, got down to Hannibal, Missouri, filled up, went east all the way, and I think it's Highway 36. I think it's 36. Should have looked it up. And anyway, it was either 36 or 136, and I will correct that too. But anyway, and obviously the Interstate 80 out to Iowa City was 4-lane. Highway 216 all the way to Hannibal, Missouri was 4-lane, and it was 65 mile an hour speed limit. I probably ran 70, 72, 75, somewhere in there. From Hannibal, Missouri to St. Joe was 4-lane, and for the most part it was 65. There was a couple towns you had to slow down to 55 mile an hour. At St. Joe, I took a little bit longer of a break, uh, got something more to eat, drink, was able to peel off the rain suit, jumped on Interstate 29 in St. Joe, Missouri, and then I booked straight north, and I was headed up to the Sioux City area, but I couldn't. It was going to be very close if I could make it on a full tank of gas. So I picked a spot just south of Council Bluffs to stop and fuel up at a convenience store, gas station. And it was a good thing I did, because about that particular time, it rained. It rained buckets on me. Oh my God. And I couldn't stop under an underpass and put my rain suit on, because it was at the time of Sturgis, and there was 20, 30 motorcycles under every freaking underpass putting on their rain suits. There was nowhere for me to stop and do it. So I just kept on going, made it to my convenience store. By the time I filled up, went inside, used the restroom, yada, 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 and got something more to munch on or whatever, come out. Was going to put my rain suit on, and it pretty much had stopped raining, and it was warm enough where I thought, well, I might as well just dry off. Blue jeans and a t-shirt or jacket, whatever I had on. So I did. I took off from there, and there were bikes everywhere. Everybody was going to Sturgis or coming back from Sturgis, one or the other. So I ran all the way up to Sioux City, Iowa, straight north from St. Joe. Stopped in between, stopped in Sioux City, and then I will post the highway, because I definitely don't know the name of that highway. Went from Sioux City, Iowa, up through Lamars, Iowa, into Worthington, Minnesota. Stopped there in Worthington, Minnesota, got another fuel receipt, and scooted across on Interstate 94 to Albert Lea, on the southern part of Minnesota, to Albert Lea, Minnesota. And I got fuel there, and then turned south and went all the way down to Des Moines. And I had 1,057 miles, and I did it in 16 hours and 58 minutes. So just pretty much 17 hours. And I didn't stop very long at any one stop, but like I said, I had all these corners. I had 6 or 7 stops, so I didn't have to take one long break. I took many short breaks, and like I said, I wanted to take a bunch of little breaks, and I probably could have extended it, and I took shorter breaks anyway in the beginning, thinking that if I needed to, as the day went on, I would have time to take longer breaks. But I ended up not having to do that. And the funniest part about this all was, when I did it, at that time on Facebook, you could have your friend's locator on. And a lot of the guys I rode with, we kept ours on, because if we tried to call somebody to see where they were at and they wouldn't answer, you could just look it up on Facebook locator, and you could see, oh, they're 15 miles away, 10 miles away, they're on their way. So that's why they're not answering, but they'll be here in a minute. So I had a buddy of mine who saw that I was out in the Iowa City area, and he was like, oh, cool. Jay's out there getting some miles in. Pretty soon he sees I'm in Hannibal, Missouri, and he tried to call me, but I'm on the bike, I'm not answering. So then he calls my brother, and he says, hey, what's your brother doing, man? He gave him my whole route. By that time, I was kind of up in the Missouri Valley, just south of Sioux City area. And then my brother says to him, he says, I bet he's doing an iron butt challenge. And he says, really? Yeah. So by the time I got to Albert Lea, I looked at my text message, and he says, hey, I know what you're doing, brother, and I'm cheering for you. Hope you have a safe ride. And and hope you're able to make it, and hope you achieve your goal, which I ended up doing. By the time I got home, I started like 3:30 in the morning, so I got home at a decent time. And when I got off my bike, that was my 13 Road Glide, had a little bit louder pipes, and it had had cams in it, and so when I got off, my whole body just kind of tingled and was numb for a little bit. And I tell you what, Sunday, I was probably the first time I walked in my garage and got in my car, and I didn't even look at my bike. So I was like, nope, not gonna ride today. So anyway, that was the ride part of it. And then I had to go back through. Still got that little tickle in my throat from the last time. But anyway, I had to go through and all my stops, make a map, number my stops, number my receipts, put those all together, mailed them in. This was August, and I'd say about December, I thought it'd be my Christmas present, and it was. And I had all my certificates that I had gotten for completing the Iron Butt Challenge. So, as Paul Harvey would say, if you know Paul Harvey, you should look him up. He was a great broadcaster, had commentary, and on YouTube, I think if you YouTube search Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, here's the rest of the story. I got my certificate, got my patches, got my stickers, got my license plate holder, Iron Butt Riders, toughest riders in the world, yada yada yada. That wasn't what I was after. It was just a sense of accomplishment for myself, and I don't know why I took it upon myself to do it. Believe it or not, in high school I ran long distances and cross country and stuff like that, and even in college. So don't know if that's what spurred me on to do it or what, but anyway, I completed it. That was 1,000 miles in less than 24 hours. They do not post times, they do not promote or recommend you speed, and they don't want to post times because they don't want it to be a race. They want each person to complete it safely. And and I've met some other people that are Iron Butt members, and shared some stories with them and talked to them a little bit about it that are in my area. So it was kind of cool that way. And there are plenty of other Iron Butt challenges out there. That was 1,000 miles in 24 hours. There's that's the Saddle Sore 1,000. They have a bun burner silver 1,500 miles in 36 hours, or you can do bun burner gold 1,500 miles in 24 hours. They have a CC 50 coast to coast in 50 hours. There's you go on the Iron Butt Association, if that's something that you're interested in, you go in there and research, and it'll give you all the descriptions of all the different types of challenges you can do and what it takes to do them. And like I said, I did it the old-fashioned way of mailing in receipts. Now you can just do Spot Wallet, and I think they have other apps you can download and just send it straight to them. So I think it's a lot easier. So anyway, that was my Iron Butt Challenge. Like I said, it was a sense of accomplishment for me. It kind of like running, got me in a runner's high after so many miles. Now I didn't doze off or space off like you can drive so many miles and forget how many miles you covered in the last half hour. It wasn't like that, because you're on a bike, you're pretty wired, focused in all the time of what you're doing. So didn't have any of that, but felt good to be out there and just get to your happy place, and you're just booking along. And I seen plenty of things and plenty of waves, and like I said, on the western side of Iowa, I've met hundreds of bikes going to Sturgis. So I had a pretty good time, and even up in Minnesota. met tons of bikes and talked to people at every stop. So that was my Iron Butt challenge. And so if you're doing research, something that you think you might enjoy, I hope this helps you. I had somebody recommend that I should talk about that a little bit. So that was my experience. And would I do another one? I'm not sure at this point. Kind of think I'd like to, but not sure. And not sure I have the time. I think now I'm kind of getting to the point where I want to slow down a little bit and enjoy the scenery and take better vacations doing that. Rather, I know you can get somewhere in a hurry, but anyway. But there's Iron Butt rallies, and then there's a Hoka Hay challenge. There's all kinds of challenges out there. I'm not into the races so much as just a challenge of yourself. The only one I'm in competition with is myself. So, but I'm going to quit saying it, quit repeating myself. But that was my experience, and I hope this helps you if you're doing some research. So, thank you, and have a great day. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.